Well, imagine that everything is going very well in your life. You have family that loves you, a great job, a great school. You have you are surrounded by people who take care of you and who loves you really much. And suddenly you have an accident and you wake up from a coma connected to tubes lying on your bed. You wake up and you cannot neither move or speak. You can only see the doctors and hear them saying that you will now recover and that your life will be based on pure pain. You only feel pain when you breathe, when you try to move, and pain at the moment when they are trying to feed you. Well, you realize that basically your life will be just suffering. This is the case of almost 90,000% of people in Mexico. These 90,000% of people, no, these 90,000 people in Mexico are living in end stage pain, and 90% of them don't have access to medicines. So the federal law only grants you voluntary suspension of treatments in a terminal situation, and euthanasia is not allowed in Mexico. The definition of euthanasia is the act of intentionally provoking the death of a person suffering from an incurable disease to prevent them from suffering. And in Mexico, the euthanasia and assisted suicide is illegal. Some articles in the section 166, piece 21 of the General Health Law states that the practice of euthanasia and assisted suicide is prohibited and is considered as a crime. And this is indicated by the federal law of penal code. Some other countries had made euthanasia legal. Netherlands was the first country to legalize euthanasia in 2002. And this only applies to sick people who has unbearable and irreversible pain. And also the patient should ask the doctor for this treatment. Other countries such as Belgium, Switzerland, they had an equal right. The definition of assisted suicide, it consists of disconnecting the patients from their life force and not forcing the patient to take their medications. And some countries like Canada, Colombia, and Luxembourg permit this type of suicide. We as persons and as humans have essential rights, and some of our rights are the following. The Declaration of Human Rights says that we are all born free and equal, that every individual has the right to life, freedom, and security, that no one shall be subjected to cruel or inhuman punishment, torture, or treatment, that everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, and that we also have the fundamental right to decide. Forcing people to do something against their will is violate their human rights. Just like killing is considered as a crime because you cannot force a person to die when they are willing to live, then you are forcing a person to die, like really against their will. So why it is not considered as a crime to force live a person when they are willing to die? You are forcing a person to live against their will. So the persistence of vegetative states is the recovery from a coma, but you can neither move and your parts from the superior brain functions are not recovered. So a persistent vegetative state happens when it lasts more than 1 month. And when people in this state regain no mental functions or the ability to interact with the environment in a meaningful way. People in a vegetative state has no awareness, and some of them can just open their eyes, but they can either talk or do things that require conscious or thinking or intent. They are not aware of themselves and their surroundings. And most of these kind of people die within the 6 months of treatments and live those 6 months in only pure pain. And the rest that they continue living, they live to 2 or 5 years, but those are 2 or 5 years that they end in pure suffering. So basically, euthanasia is illegal in Mexico mainly by the church. It is not allowed here in Mexico because our religious culture. And most of the people think that only God can give us life and God can only take it away from us. But in some churches around the world, they give out palliative care. And this is for the persons who don't want to have pain. not for those who don't want to wish, who don't have the wish to continue in existence. And this is done by the full capacity of conscience and expressively asking for it from the patient. So there is an actual percentage of people and Catholics that are in favor of euthanasia. 80% of the citizens around the world are in favor, and 50% of the Catholics are in favor as well. So I think that everyone should have the right to euthanasia. It is personal and not mandatory. And some advantages of the euthanasia are the following. The first one is the end of the suffering of the evicted, his relatives, and the social circles. The second one is that the patient is free to put an end to his pain. Also, the conservation of their human dignity. And euthanasia also saves a lot of institutions costs and expenses in health facilities. So in this case, and as I said before, Article number 5 is of the people's human right is violated. The article number 5 says that no one shall be subjected to cruel or inhuman punishment, torture, or treatment. But don't you think that it is cruel and inhumane to deny someone to die when their pain exceeds their strength? Also, death, it's a natural thing. And with euthanasia, it is only accelerated and it is done without pain. So if this was your situation, just think about what will you do. Are you willing to live the rest of your life in a lot of pain? Or are you willing to die with dignity and without suffering? Thank you very much.